So at one of the meetings earlier this year, Nicola asked me if the Pink Tank could come to Motivational, and when she said who the Pink Tank were and what their objectives were, naturally enough I said yes please and how soon. So here they are this morning, and the four of these women together have experience across a wide range of areas including broadcasting, journalism, law, media, politics, banking and entrepreneurship. And they've come here this morning to share their experiences with you, their views on public life and a lot more besides. I actually haven't heard this before, so I really have no idea what's ahead of us, but I can guarantee you in advance of it that it will be a very, very enjoyable hour. So ladies and gentlemen, I believe the members of the Pink Tank are waiting outside. Thank you.
You're very welcome to the Pink Tank. Thank you very, very much for coming out this morning at this lovely early hour. What is the Pink Tank? Well, that's a good question. The Pink Tank is, we hope, a motivational force, or movement is probably too strong a word, but it's where our ambitions are. We would like to think that the Pink Tank will be addressing some of the issues that are concerning us in the world today, in our modern lives. It's a forum for talk, for conversation, for interactivity, for questions and answers, for discussing some of the issues that maybe we all want to say but don't get said as often as we might like. So to start, may I introduce to you my colleague Teresa Lowe. She's very well known to you from the screens a few years back, one or two, presenting Where in the World. And after she left RT, people may wonder, well, where did Teresa go? What did she do? Well, she married the musician Frank McNamara. They have 14 teenage children. She became a barrister 14 years ago and swapped the blue eyeshadow and big shoulder pads and big hair of Where in the World in the 80s for the wig and gown of the law courts. Teresa will be back in our screens in the new year because RT are doing a documentary to coincide with the 50th anniversary of RT next year on various presenters and where they are and what they're doing, and of course they contacted Teresa to feature her, so that documentary, we'll all be looking forward to it next year. Will you welcome please Teresa Lowe.
The hair is just slightly less big now, I suppose. With the wig, it's big again. Can I introduce you to a very good friend and a wonderful businesswoman? That's Nicola Byrne. Nicola, as Siobhan mentioned earlier, she's the CEO of 11890, the third entrant in the online directories market. And she single-handedly has created 80 jobs between the call centres and technicians and management. She has also just recently opened up a new call centre in Galway and is providing employment in that region. She is the most dynamic person I have ever met in my life. She's the most positive person I've ever met. There is no such thing as a problem to Nicola. A problem is just an obstacle to overcome, a challenge that she will take on with relish. And she's like that in every aspect of her life. As I say, she's a fantastic businesswoman. She's also the kindest person I've ever met in my life. She is also the mother of 3 very young children. So a warm welcome please for Nicola.
Oh, it's too early for this, girl.
I have the wobbly seat, by the way.
So, this is great. You get to talk about yourselves first thing in the morning. Linda O'Shea Farron is next on our list to be introduced this morning. Linda is probably one of the most incredible women I've ever met, and one of the easiest going women I've ever met, and floats from issue to issue. Linda started her career as a solicitor, then she moved to America and became a fancy New York lawyer. Then she went to London and continued to be a fancy lawyer. She came back here and worked in investment banking. Linda then was headhunted by Nora Owens to be her programme manager when Nora was the Minister for Justice. Linda then became a solicitor in her own practice, specialising in disability. Linda is now currently a board member of the EBS, having been very upset by the fact that the female Edna Tinney, our female colleague Edna Tinney, was being victimised. So Linda decided to take that on and became a board member there, so she's having lots of fun in banking land. And on top of that, Linda has 3 kids who are all very talented, and puts us to shame. So Linda this morning will provide entertainment across every subject, from politics, legal, motherhood, you name it, Linda covers it. So may I introduce Linda O'Shea Farron.
Thank you very much. Orla. Manley of the think tank. Orla is very easy to introduce, so thank you guys for leaving Orla to me.
Yeah.
Orla studied journalism, and we all know why, because she has a lot to say actually, Orla. And it's all very well thought through. So having graduated from the DIT in journalism, she went straight into the print media. But Orla had ambitions to end up in RTE, and she quickly moved to radio and then straight into RTE, where she was a senior staff journalist. She worked on all the political programmes, the Week in Politics, the Rockets Report, all the news. And then she has 4 kids, and she decided to switch into media training and became a director of mediatraining.ie, which she still is today. And in that she moved more into the business mode, where she trained and managed the media for some of Ireland's top brass in the business world. But then as her children started getting sort of a little bit more independent, I think Orla started to get hankering after the RTE again. And typical Orla, she didn't leave it to chance. She entered a public competition for 1 board membership on RTE, authority as it was then, or RTE board now. You know, these are very difficult jobs to get, and ministers hand them out to their friends and all that kind of stuff. Orla, I know, she went straight in, and I don't know how many layers of competition there were, but Orla got the job.
Well, we've told you a little bit about our CVs, if you like, and that's the nuts and bolts. We'd like to now maybe tell you a little bit more personal stuff about it, so you get a feel for who we are behind the nuts and bolts and the figures and the dates. So maybe, Nicola, you'd like to tell us a little something about your own
This
life.
is very intimate for Sean and this kind of stuff. Well, the first thing is I didn't iron my shirt this morning, guys. I'm sitting here hiding it under my jacket. No, the really important thing is that we need enterprise in local community, and we don't need to turn everybody in. There's people who aren't meant to work for themselves, who don't enjoy it, who don't like the stress, who don't like the strain. Everybody has a role, and you don't all have to fill the same role. You know, I don't want to be an accountant. I don't want to be an engineer, I don't want to be an architect. There's a lot of things I just never want to be. But what I do want is the opportunity to be me. And in order to do that, that means we all have to work together as a team. I find this group difficult because I do this stuff on my own normally, and I have to put up with these then and do what I'm supposed to do. Team is difficult. And in a community that's hurting, it's even more difficult because it's easier to nitpick and begrudge than it is to say, you know something, maybe they've got something. Maybe the person who isn't an engineer, isn't an architect, actually could build an engineering company. Because he has the engineers, and he just needs the little spark to put the whole thing together and bring it together. And community politics is something that holds back communities and doesn't allow them to thrive, because the person they expect to lead them isn't necessarily the right person or the person that will deliver. So look amongst yourselves, look deep in yourselves and see, can you be the person? It doesn't matter. I was an export clerk, you know. I kind of now find myself going, you know, I knew at 18 what I had in me. And I just kept pushing it, and every time you get knocked down, you just push a bit further, you push a bit harder, and you dig a bit deeper. And you're always going to get the, you're only a woman. I get that a lot. You're going to go off and have a baby. Oh, I got that too. What would you know? You're too smart, arse. And I'm thinking, I'm actually really good at what I do. I just have a natural love of numbers, I have a natural love of people, and I can see how it all fits together, and I find it frustrating. Because even when I'm talking, I can go off miles away from everything and come right back to centre, and I'm quite happy I knew where I was going. And people look at me in amazement going, how did you get that answer? And sometimes I just can't explain it, but you know something? It works. It works because I surround myself, and this is the key in the community, with the right people. They're the people who say, I can do it. You know, it's failing in. You know, it really is, it's failing in. But you need to see the people. And sometimes you're thinking, oh, your man drinks too much, or, you know, she's out every night of the week or whatever, she's never going to get up in the morning and, you know, she might let you down. You know, sometimes there's little diamonds in people, and if you believe in them, they'll deliver more than you can ever imagine. And you'll get loyalty, strength, cooperation, and then you'll get a heart back in the community. So I suppose my advice today is, you can never judge a book by its cover. And when you dig deep enough in anybody, you'll find exactly what you're looking for if you set out with the right intention. So this morning, Mitchelstown, it is time to start looking for your little diamonds. You don't all have to be entrepreneurs. You just need one that sees it, and you need to give them the belief. And so they fail, so what? Do it again. And if they fail at that, do it again. And if you have to keep giving it to them, give them the belief, because the belief is the only thing that gets us out of this hole. I believe I can. You can believe you can. Just start believing.
All the talk about clearing out all those directors who were there before the banking crisis and did nothing about it, or were involved in the decisions that have us all in this mess now. They're still there, guys. Okay, I'm on the board with many of them. And I find the newspaper headlines talk about everything, and every now and then there's talk about the clear out of the bank boards. And now the financial regulator is writing to all of them, apparently, that's the latest news, and he's giving them till January 2012 to decide whether they will still like to be on those boards, and if they would like to still be on those boards, they'll be put through a rigorous interview. Which bit of go do these people not understand? That's the headline I want. So if you can arrange that for me.
But I've been in and around the media all my life, and I should be a great defender of the media, and I'm not. I'm the greatest detractor of the media at the moment, in the sense that I believe when the history of this recession at this time is written, it'll have been found and proven that the media broadened it, deepened it, widened it and prolonged it for all of us. The media positively is getting off on negativity at the moment. It is just terrible, and it's pulling us down. Have you noticed that the most negative person in a room sucks the energy out of the room? If you're at a meeting, the person who says, that'll never work, we tried that last year, no, that won't go anywhere, they're just killers. They pull all the energy out of the work, and they make everybody else doubt what you're thinking and what you're feeling, and is this a good idea? And I believed in it this morning, but is it still a good idea because of this negative energy? And I really feel that the media, you know, if there's the next episode in the bailout saga, and you know, the headlines on the papers will be 10 feet tall, and if there's jobs or opportunities, or some entrepreneur, as Nicola is saying, starting out and putting up something or trying something, it'll have, you know, a small paragraph on page 10. You know, and you know, they're wondering in the Irish Press or the Irish Times and the Irish Independent why the numbers of people buying the papers are contracting. I do a lot of training programs with people in startup businesses, and you know, 10 years ago I'd start them in the morning with a room with 10 or 12 or 15 people in the room, and I'd say, what paper did you buy this morning, just to kind of see where people were coming from. Now nobody buys a paper. Just sort of one thing that struck me, Teresa, if you had one bit of advice to give people now, what would that be?
I have a sister called Joan Freeman, and Joan is the founder and the CEO of Pieta House in Lucan. And Pieta House is an organisation that she set up 10 years ago to provide counselling services for people who are suicidal and who are self-harming. And it's a wonderful service. It's free, first of all. It's a beautiful house that you walk into. You will see a top therapist for as long as you need and as often as you need, straight away. And she was inspired to do this.
Much harder than failure itself. And if people could get over the fear of failure, and the Americans are great at this, the top guys fail all the time. And let's face it, the people running our country and running our banks and running everything here have failed gloriously. And are they without a job? Not a hope. They've been hired to sort out the mess. So it is definitely an Irish thing. And it's that, I suppose, we've built everything up on our own, in our own steady little way. The last thing you need is for your house of cards to collapse. But in a way, everybody at the moment has failed, because we're all suffering from the banks and our mortgages and everything. So my advice is, forget the fear, ditch it, go out and fail in style. And then you'll be surprised the next time you won't fail as much, and you'll shoot off.